So the other day, Jacob asked me if I thought Once Upon a Time will ever get Moana. And I didn't answer the question right away because I hadn't yet seen Moana, but I just saw it. And after watching the film and processing it, I have to say, I think Once Upon a Time should totally do Moana. Now, as to whether or not ABC will adapt it, that's up to the executives at ABC and Disney. That's really not my call. But I really think the show should do Moana because it's just a fantastic film. It'll bring in lots of magic, lots of heat, and lots of fun. It's so well done. I thought Moana was an amazing film. It's not as good as Frozen, but it's so good. It's better than Big Hero 6, I will give it that. So let's talk the backstory before we even get into whether or not or to what my ideas are, I should say. And by the way, I'm going to be doing spoilers for Moana a little bit, so if you haven't yet seen it, please go watch, then come back and discuss Moana and Once Upon a Time with me. Now, before we get into the ideas, let's talk about the past, like I said. So ABC, or Once Upon a Time, has already adapted Brave and Frozen. Those adaptations were excellent. I think the Frozen arc is the best arc the show has ever done. I thought their interpretation of Brave was amazing. I loved Amy Manson's portrayal of Merida. It was so well done. I think the Dark Swan arc is a little weak because it's stretched so thin, because you're dealing with Camelot, the past of the Dark One, and you're throwing in Brave as well. There's just a lot going on with it, but in terms of what they did with Brave, it's beautiful, or it was beautiful. It was a great arc with Brave. And then, as I said, I think Frozen is one of the best things the show has ever done. Now, Ron Clements and John Musker have made Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. Or excuse me, they made Aladdin and the Little Mermaid. They did not make Beauty and the Beast. And the show has obviously adapted Aladdin right now, and they've adapted Little Mermaid in the past. So we know that Once Upon a Time has done Disney movies of past and Disney movies of the present, so we definitely could see Ron Clements and John Muster's work be adapted on Once Upon a Time with Moana. Now, unfortunately, one of their other pieces of work is Princess and the Frog, and we haven't seen Princess and the Frog on the show. We actually haven't seen a Tangled adaptation as well. Now, that's not a Ron Clements and John Musker adaptation. We have seen a Rapunzel on the show, but we haven't got to see the Flynn Rider and the Rapunzel with the long golden magic hair. And I think a lot of us would want to see both Princess and the Frog and Tangled adapted on Once Upon a Time because we already have seen Ariel, we've already seen Aladdin, and I think the storyline of Moana would be excellent, but I think a lot of us want to see Rapunzel and Flynn and Tiana and Naveen because those are just really good movies as well. So anyway, the point of this part of the video was just to say, they've done work with Ron and John, they've done work with Ron and John's films, they've done work with the movies of New, so now I think it's very possible, just given the history, that we could see Moana. Now, in a perfect world, I think ABC would need a bit of a better budget to throw Moana on because it takes place in the Pacific Islands. And I think Once Upon a Time should go back to be, should film in Hawaii where they filmed Lost. Now, again, this is a perfect world. I'm not sure if this is going to happen or whatnot, or even if Once Upon a Time will even do Moana, because again, they haven't done Princess and the Frog or Tangled. But if we can get Moana, they really should consider filming in Hawaii because the scenery in Hawaii, or the scenery in Moana, is so beautiful, and to, be watching Hawaii at this point, I really feel if Moana gets adapted, it'd be done best in the beginning of season 7, so, in the winter. So to see that on screen just for marketing purposes would be so great because it's cold out, right? It's cold. It's November right now. And you get to go to the beach essentially on the TV. And I think it's a really great idea, because we're not going to the beach right now. So I do like that. I think that would be very smart if they are able to adapt Moana in the fall. So now let's talk about, what I think Once Upon a Time could do with Moana. Now, in the movie, Moana and, I'm very sorry about that. In the movie, Maui was essentially trapped on an island for 1,000 years, which means we could have him easily interact with Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin, as we know in the show, is about 300 years old, so there's many opportunities for Maui and Rumple to interact, make a deal and whatnot, and then somehow have Maui end up back on his island. Another character that could easily work with Moana is Captain Hook. Now, I know I said I don't want to see more of the backstory of Captain Hook and whatnot because I really feel that the main character's backstory is really fleshed out. But if we could have Moana work with Captain Hook, I will go with that. I think that would be a fantastic story because, it'd just be awesome. I think Moana is an excellent movie, and to have Hook see Hawaii or the Pacific Islands, That's a smart idea. I really would like to see that. So I really could see him interact with her. Maybe have him take her under his wing, kind of like he did with Ariel, but not betray her, just have to leave. Maybe he, inspires her a bit more to become a Voyager. So, the show would have great scenery. It would have a very great way to interconnect Moana to Hook and to interconnect Rumpel with Maui. Obviously, we could somehow manipulate the Evil Queen's curse in there, but I actually have an idea around that because in Moana, there's a lot of magic, and that's an excellent, excellent plot point because there's so much magic. We don't even need to incorporate the magic of Once Upon a Time or the magic of the Dark Curse into it because we could have other curses that keep Moana's paradise as it is and then somehow merge with the Storybrooke characters. There's just so much magic. The main point of Moana is to essentially lift a curse. So if you could have another curse essentially keep the characters in like a bubble and have Moana need to go save her people and then end up in Storybrooke, that would be another great idea. And then essentially bring, Emma, Regina, Hook, etc. all to her islands and then have them kind of island hop. I mean, how cool would that be to see them go on an adventure in the islands, but not an adventure like Neverland where it's always dark, an adventure in the bright, sunny beaches. Ooh, I think that'd be excellent. So I think Maui would work best with Rumpel, and I think Moana would work best with Hook in past storyline. But in the present day storyline, if we had to do something with Moana, I really feel that she would become best friends with both Emma and Regina. Now, obviously, we're going to have to age Moana up just a little bit because in this movie she's 14 and Emma and Regina on the show are in their 30s, more or less. I think Emma might be 29 still, but other than that, they are relatively older than her. They're a good 16 years ahead of her in age. So the show would need to age Moana up. They obviously aged Merida up, they aged Elsa and Anna up a little bit, so I think aging her up would absolutely be not a problem at all. So, I really feel that having the three of them be a trio of friends would be a great idea because, normally what the show does is it does duos. It doesn't really do trios. You have Emma and Regina, you have Emma and Hook, you have Snow White and Charming. Obviously, Snow White and Charming and Emma and Hook are couples. But you had Emma and Elsa, and they were friends, but it essentially isolated the friendship of Emma and Regina. So I really feel that if you have the friendship of Moana, Emma, and Regina at once, it would add for some real fun scenes, great acting, and some real interesting storylines for the three of them to use their magic. Because Moana has the ability to control the sea thanks to her bond with it. Obviously, she's not an aquakinetic, but she has a very strong connection to the sea. So the magic that she has, the magic that Emma has, the magic that Regina has, essentially we have three people with magical abilities in the breadth of it to work together. So I think that would be really, really well done. I think that would be a great idea to have them work together to lift a curse, and it could be a Pacific Island curse. It doesn't even have to be a curse linking to the Enchanted Forest or linking to Rumpelstiltskin, but if you want to have them interact, of course, throw back Hook and Rumpel there. But I think if you just do a brand new storyline that kind of essentially wipes the slate clean, that would be really cool. And I really would love to see Moana adapted on the show. So anyway, those are essentially my ideas for Once Upon a Time and Moana. I really think the show should adapt it. I think Moana would be beautiful on Once Upon a Time. I really like the idea of island hopping. I think that would be so much fun to see characters bounce from island to island to deal with different levels of curses. And also, I think to get out of Storybrooke, Maine, which is relatively cold, and get into this hot tropical scenery environment would be so great. So anyway, if you've seen Moana, what do you think about the movie? Share your thoughts about the movie in the comments below. And if you think Once Upon a Time should adapt Moana, I think it should. And I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say about it in the comments below as well. I'll do a live stream of tonight's episode of Once Upon a Time Changelings at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So share your thoughts in the comments and we'll talk soon. All right, guys.